how to navigate conflict with a coworker.
Oh, yes.
So there's interpersonal conflicts which are common in the workplace, and it's easy to get caught up in them, but which can lead to reduced creativity, slower and worse decision making, and even fatal mistakes. So how do we navigate those? So obviously, you come into a workplace, it's a lot of different personalities, unless you're working from home, which we already said we're not doing. Unless it's once a week. But you have a lot of different personalities, and of course they're gonna clash unless you know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
This particular article featured actually a story of a woman who had started a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so she took a job reporting to someone who had a reputation of being difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the boss was being difficult?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the person that she was reporting to,
Right.
whether it was a supervisor, it's not really defined.
Whatever, manager, whoever. Yeah. So
And
that person's difficult.
Yes. So people warned her that that person would be hard to work with, but thought that she could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I prided myself to be able to get along with anyone. And I didn't let people get under my skin. 2 months later, I was ready to quit. Elise, the person, worked long days and their weekends and expected her team to do the same. Her assumptions,
like Devil Wears Prada.
yeah, her assumptions about what could get done in a day were wildly unreasonable. She often followed 8:30 a.m. on a request she'd made at 6 the night before. She disparaged my teammates in front of me, questioned their work ethic and commitment to the company, and she would scroll through colleagues' calendars and point out how little they'd accomplished despite having a meeting-free day. She vowed to stop caring so much about how she acted and treat her with kindness. In a good week, I could succeed, but more often than not, those lofty intentions flew out the window. The minute she insinuated that I wasn't working hard enough, I would clench my teeth, roll my eyes behind her back, and complain about her to my coworkers.
Was there an HR team?
I'm not sure. Interpersonal conflicts like that with insecure bosses, know-it-all colleagues, passive-aggressive peers are common at work. And it's easy to get caught up in them. One study showed that 94% of respondents said that they had worked with a toxic person in the previous 5 years. And another survey of 2,000 U.S. workers indicated that their top source of tension on the job was a relationship.
At the job?
At the job.
Oh.
Not like, like a work relationship.
Oh, okay. I thought like they're having relationships at the job.
Well, that happens
that could
too.
Be a problem.
That is a problem. That's why you need HR. You need HR for that, for sure. And so trapped in these negative dynamics, we find it hard to be our best selves or to improve the situation. Instead, we spend time worrying, react in regrettable ways that violate our values, avoid difficult colleagues, and sometimes even withdraw from work entirely. There was an article in the New York Times, and a survey of more than 4,500 doctors, nurses, and other hospital personnel, 71% tied disruptive behavior such as abusive, condescending, or insulting personal conduct to medical errors, and 27% tied such behaviors to patient deaths. So 71% were more upset by their colleagues than by people they were treating dying.
Wow. One toxic person at any work environment, at any level, whether it's a coworker, a manager, a boss, anyone. One toxic person in such an environment will create toxicity throughout the whole system. Yeah. So realistically, and if it's your boss or your manager, then you have like, it feels like you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Because if it's like a coworker, you complain to HR, you complain to your manager, you complain to your boss, things can happen.
Yeah.
Or you quit. When it's like your manager, your boss, then the only thing you could do is quit. There's no one to complain to. There's no one to help you because other people, I think, won't help you because they don't want to lose their job.
Right.
So regardless of whatever you're feeling, maybe they'll talk about it, like on the DL a little bit here and there, like whisper at the cooler. But outside of that, it's not like you're going to build a team of people and go against your manager. Nobody really does that.
Right.
Unless there's an HR, then yes, of course you can file against the manager.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really not a nice place to be.
Yeah.
When you have a toxic manager, you can have confrontations, you can have conflicts, of course. But when you're having someone who's out to get you, or at least feels like they're out to get you all the time, from dusk till dawn, from dawn till dusk, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because one of my interview questions that I ask during hiring is, how do you address conflict? Have you had a conflict with a coworker? Where do you take your conflict if you're having a conflict? And those people that tell me, no, I never had a conflict, I don't believe them, I don't hire them. They're liars. They're liars right away. The other people who are saying, yes, you know, well, I communicate with my coworker first, and then I'll take it to the manager, and then, you know, see what happens from there. Those people I can understand, and I can see their progress, and they're not going to cause a conflict. They're not going to cause toxicity. However, if they say that they didn't have anyone to go to, then I know that the toxic environment came from the band.
Yeah. Well, there are certain ways to go around that. So one is to remember that your perspective is just one among many. We all come to the workplace with different viewpoints and values. We might disagree on everything from whether it's okay to be 5 minutes late to a meeting, to acceptable ways of interrupting a colleague, to the appropriate consequences for someone who's made a mistake. And it's not realistic to expect your boss, teammates, or reports to see eye to eye with you all the time. So be open-minded. And I think that's important, because everybody, I mean, we see each other at work and we only know the personalities that we know at work, right? So everybody, I feel like, for the most part, people act differently at work than they are at home. And we don't know what people are going through. So maybe their toxicity is stemming from, I don't know, a hard life or their home situation. So sometimes you just gotta say, it is what it is. I feel like,
I mean, everybody can have a bad day.
Yeah.
Or a bad week or a bad month. But if it's a perpetual, constant thing, and you're just like, at some point you're waking up every morning dreading your life because you have to go and see these people and be around them. And it's not even the work itself, but it's the people. Well, I mean, what do you do?
Well, according to this, and whenever, you know, difference of opinions arise,
that's why all those memes to come up about reflection.
Yeah. All right. So they say most of us believe that we're seeing the issue objectively and correctly, and anyone who has another view is uninformed, irrational, or biased. Mm-hmm. Which will bring us to our next topic of conversation. Social psychologists refer to the tendency as naive realism. For example, in one study, participants who were asked to tap out the rhythm of a well-known song such as Happy Birthday predicted that listeners would be able to name the tune about 50% of the time. They were sure that it would be clear to others that they were trying to convey, but the guesses were accurate only 2.5% of the time. And once we're confident about something, whether it's our ability to tap out a song or the solution to this quarter's budget shortfall, we find it hard to imagine that others won't see it the same way. We all have our opinions.
Yeah.
Sometimes we should either, I guess, discuss it with HR or Brenda.
Yeah, Brenda can always help you.
So the next thing that you would have to do in this situation is be aware of your biases. And biases creep into all sorts of workplace interactions. And one common derailer for colleagues' relationship is fundamental attribution error, an inclination to assume that other people's behavior has more to do with their personality than with the situation, while believing the opposite of oneself.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of like what I was saying. So sometimes you have to like dive in and see why you're reacting that way to a person, because whatever it may be, it could be.
You've never been around someone who irritates you?
Of course
that irritates you. They didn't do anything. They didn't say anything. They just irritate you. Like everything. Like the minute they open their mouth, they start to irritate you. The way they sit, the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they sip their coffee in the morning. No?
I have.
Oh, okay.
But not for any.
So what are you going to reflect on them?
Why
they irritate you?
Yes.
You don't even know them. Like you said, you don't even know them, but they irritate you.
Well, no, I feel like no, you have to know them.
It's an aura. People give off auras. They give off bias. They give off. They give off all these things. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, you are picking these things up and processing them on a subconscious level, on psychologically, right? You're processing all these things, all the vibes, all the little things that you can't even like. It's not something you could see or smell or hear,
Yeah.
right? But your body's still reacting. So,
But it has to be for some particular reason.
how can you reflect?
Why? But it has to be a reason
They don't
why.
smell good.
That I mean that's it.
To you. They don't smell.
Well, if they're not
No.
using deodorant,
No, you don't like their perfume.
I wouldn't be irritated by that.
Really?
Yeah,
I would be so irritated.
no.
My head would start hurting.
Yeah, no, that doesn't bother me. I mean, unless they're like sitting directly like next to me.
Yeah, like this. Imagine a
So you're trying to say you don't like my perfume? No, but I don't think. I mean, like,
no. But I've had these situations where I don't know the person and I could have met them for the first time or the 10th time, whatever, but I don't really know them, but they irritate me. Like, they irritate me. Like, I don't want to get to know them. I don't want them around me. I don't want to be around
but
them.
there's something that causes.
And they can be very nice people.
But maybe there's
Yeah,
something.
that's part of the perfume they're wearing.